Heyo, welcome back to my corner. So, this is the extended LEGO City and ranking of LEGO Star Wars on GameCube that was originally intended to be at the end of Return of the Jedi, except this is almost 40 minutes long, roughly, so I didn't want to make it a almost 2-hour video, so here's that. I hope you enjoy. So after about 6 or 7 hours of work, I finally have 68 gold bricks, meaning I have enough for the secret final level. I don't have enough for the infinite studs yet. This thing, you need all 99. But I'm on my way there. But I do have at least all of the mini kits from A New Hope complete. So that's really weird that they only assemble when you go up to them. But yeah, they're all complete, don't worry. So, this secret level, and I think all the ones from Empire are also done. So the secret level is just over here. And you have to build its entrance, which is super cool. Alright. It's gonna be this massive golden question mark. And there we go. Wait. Extras. Use old saves. And I bought invincibility, and I bought the double score. Because of course I did. Let's do LEGO City. With, Man, this character select is so weirdly organized. Why is it this way? Let's choose Anakin. Jedi Anakin. Because, why not? Hey, Anakin and Darth Vader. There we go. LEGO City. In an infinite universe, all things are possible. As the second Death Star explodes beside an Endor moon, Anakin Skywalker's epic journey is complete. With his final sacrifice, balance has returned to the Force. In another galaxy far, far away, though, echoes. This drama lives on, and a new world awakens. You know what? That's actually kind of cool. Despite the fact that I cannot read that text, this is kind of cool. Hello, LEGO City. How are you doing today? So now that I've actually finished classic LEGO Star Wars, no, I'm not counting the complete saga because that's pretty much just a deluxe edition of both the first and second games with a little more content, including the episode 2 having a 6th chapter. Being the first one, the Bounty Hunter Pursuit. Other than that, they're all pretty much the same, other than some extra content, revamped versions of the pod racing level, and the gunship cavalry level from episode 2. Also, actual Revenge of the Sith music. But hey, I might do that just for fun if a friend joins on or whatever. But it might be the perfect time to kind of give my thoughts on each episode, because they're not all made the same. They're not all made equally, and I kind of wanted to rank each episode based on what I think of it. And to be clear, I'm not ranking the episodes based on Luke from Hoth. Oh, he still has a blaster. That kind of sucks. To be clear, I'm not ranking them based on how the movies are. I'm ranking them purely based on how the gameplay is and whether it's fun or it's tedious or more so whatever. Okay, so what's this letter supposed to be? Oh, that's an L. So I think Empire Strikes Back is probably the weakest episode between these two games. And not because it's bad, it's just because I remember when I was filming, it takes so long to film. And it's so, I don't know if boring is the right word, but it's very samey, I guess, throughout the entire experience. Like, there's not a point where it's a lot of puzzle solving, it's a lot of parkour. It's not really that combat heavy. Building Lego. There we go. That'll give me a whole bunch of studs, hopefully. There we go. A lot fewer than I expected, but alright. Let's break this house, too, because why not? So I'm gonna kind of give my thoughts in order of which episode I think was the worst to which one was the best. And to be clear, just because it's the worst among these 6, it's still really good. It's just the weakest among good games, good levels, good episodes. To be clear. Aw, cute little mini house. That's fun. So I think Empire Strikes Back is actually the worst one when it comes to level design. Not plot, just level design. So the reason I think this is because it's so... It feels like there's so much padding where you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Like, oh, I guess Leia has the helmet on by default in Free Play or Lego City. That's cool. It's not really that unique. There's not much variety. Yeah, you've got the snow levels. The battle on Hoth. That's fun, but it feels like it goes on for too long, and that's my main gripe with Empire. It just feels like it goes on for a little too long. Like what the prequel trilogy gets right with these games, whenever it feels like it might be going on for slightly too long, it varies it up. Like, boom, you're doing something else. Boom, you're doing something else. Yeah, I mean, retaking Theed Palace, for example, that's a little bit of a sludge fest. But, okay, you're starting to feel bored-id a little bit by the end of the mission, and boom, you've got a Darth Maul fight. Super cool, super high energy, really fun. So, the prequel trilogy is a lot better at doing stuff like that than I think the original trilogy is in these games. But I mean, that doesn't take away from the good qualities. That's just one of the flaws it has. There are, what, 2 whole mini-kits dedicated to sinking AT-STs alone and nothing else? Just taking down 20 AT-STs gets you 2 mini-kits. And I don't know. It's not varied enough. It's like, and again, it's like you're doing the same thing over and over again, just slightly differently. So then you've got Escape from Echo Base, which is alright. I mean, nothing's wrong with it, other than it just feels slightly too long. And then you've just got occasionally stormtroopers that come out of, or snowtroopers that come out of nowhere and just bug you. Which I get. Oh, jeez. Please don't be sucked. Thank you. Which I get. They're supposed to bug you, but sometimes it just feels like there are too many. There are so many places. I'm trying to balance what I'm saying with the Skywalker Saga, for example, because that game, I think, suffered the opposite problem. Like the Battle of Geonosis, for example. There weren't enough things shooting at you because it's supposed to be this giant oppressive arena. Look at LEGO Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars, for example. That was probably the greatest representation of that arena in gaming, probably. So, it's not bad to have a lot of enemies in an area. But it seems sometimes like they're doing it for the sake of, oh, well, this level takes like 2 minutes otherwise, so let's just put an infuriating amount of enemies. It's not to look cool. It's not to fulfill a story purpose. It's just to serve as padding. So that's part of the reason why I don't like that one as much. But other than that, it's fine. Then you've got Falcon Flight, which, first part, really cool. You're destroying cannons on the Star Destroyers, and that's all well and fun. Then you've got the next part, by next part, I really mean the rest of the entire mission, or level. All it is just flying around in the same asteroid field, and again, they're flying around in an asteroid field in the movie. That makes sense, but everything looks the exact same for way too long, and it's the one part that kind of adds variety, I guess, is the one the space worm that the Millennium Falcon goes to in the movie, but it's entirely avoidable and optional. I wish there was a section of the level, and to be clear, this level's problem isn't that it's too long or whatever. Frankly, I think it's a little bit that it's not long enough. It's just not as detailed as I'd like. I think it should be mandatory to go into that space worm, and they should you should go into it to flee the TIE fighters, just like they do in the movie, and then you have to escape it, because of course, I mean, that again lines up with the movie. And honestly, I think that would take that level from being kind of mediocre to really memorable and pretty good. Otherwise, it's just flying around an asteroid field. I mean, it's true to the movie, but does it really stick out in your mind? Not really. Then you've got Dagobah, which is pretty good. I don't really have any complaints about that one. Cloud City Trap, I also really don't... Well, other than just the oppressive amount of stormtroopers just for the sake of it, and for no other reason, that can get fairly annoying unless you have the invincibility cheat. So that's something. Then you've got Cloud's Betrayal over Bespin, which is probably the weakest one out of the lot, because there was so much more potential for it. First of all, I think it should have been the 5th chapter instead of the 6th, because that just makes more sense with the plot of the movie, because that stuff theoretically should be happening first, but it doesn't for some reason. On top of that, it still feels super samey, and just... It's kind of like with Halo, there's the level 2 betrayals, and honestly, that's my least favorite level in the game. In my opinion, that's the worst level in that game. Partly because it's just the exact same thing over and over again. And that's part of the problem with Assault on the Control Room too. But the problem is, Assault on the Control Room, at least it's fresh, it's original. With 2 Betrayals, it's just a rehashed version of the exact same thing, except backwards this time. And that's kind of how I feel about Betrayal over Bespin. Not that you have just the repeated corridors over Bespin again. It's just, in that level, everything looks the exact same. So nothing really stands out. Still a good level. These are all good levels, to be clear. It's just, among the levels in these games, that one's probably the one. These are probably the ones that are the weakest. Still good, just weak relatively speaking. I'd say the second worst one was A New Hope. Now, the good thing about A New Hope is that it's not so long and drawn out as Empire is. It's not just painfully long to some degree, but it's one of its problems, like in Escaping the Death Star, the 5th chapter. There's this one section, or 2 sections actually, that kind of ruin the level for me. And one of them is this elevator thing where you have to kind of go up and then get a stormtrooper helmet and to open the stormtrooper door at the top of the shaft thing. If I remember, I can put footage of me doing that on screen here. But the reason, it's just, there are so many stormtroopers that spawn in so often that it truly, and it's not just relatively bad, it's just bad. Simply speaking, how many stormtroopers there are, because they constantly keep killing you or de-hatting you. So you're having to go back and forth over and over and over and over again. I mean, that part just isn't fun. And really, the rest of the entire game, the rest of the entire 2 games, just aren't that way. It's really out of line for the rest of the series. And the other one which suffers from that exact same problem, except you're having to build a door thing where you have like 10,000, the scene where you have 10,000 stormtroopers or whatever. That's an exaggeration, I know. But then there's just an infinite spawn of them. And either you have to have the invincibility cheat, or you're building one brick at a time, so the whole thing becomes super duper tedious and annoying. But I mean, otherwise, other than that, the level's actually pretty good, or alright. Like, nothing's wrong with it other than that. So that's probably the worst one. Then that was skipping ahead. The space, what's it called? The Death Star plans, I think, the first chapter 1. That's pretty good. It's supposed to be this basic introduction to Lego Star Wars to people that haven't played it. And it does that. It does that really well. It's got some secrets. It's super fun. Chapter 2, again, it suffers a little bit from just being super duper samey. But I'd say it's a little less offensive because you do have, unlike with a lot of the Empire levels, you do have a lot of variation. And yeah, it's samey because it's in a desert, but you also have the sand crawler, you've got, you know, the wastelands you start in, you've got that little quicksand lake thing. That's kind of cool that you can travel through on the speed car thing. I'm blanking on the name. So you've got all that, which is cool, and that's cool, and so that's part of why I like it so much. Then chapter 3, it's more of the same, but it's not really. It's not bad. It's good because the good thing it does, unlike with Empire, it doesn't go on for too long. It goes on for just the right amount of time. And I like that. I really do. So then, Chapter 4 is probably the best of the Death Star ones because you don't have the infinite spawning stormtroopers. It's just normal. It follows the movie. It's great. It's great. And on top of that, there's this little mini game that you shoot down TIE fighters near the end. So that's super fun. And of course, Rebel Attack is really good. I love that one. I mean, you get to blow up the Death Star. Do I need to explain farther? Episode 2 of Lego Star Wars 1. And that one I would say is the weakest of the original, of the first game. And is it partly because it's only 5 chapters instead of 6? Yes. Is it also partly because, I mean, Camino isn't that different. Geonosis the Geonosis level, or the Geonosis arena isn't bad. I mean, for the hardware you have, like, you're making a game. Oh, wait, I think I found it. I did. There we go. So, oh, there's a little more. Okay. So, for the hardware you're working with, at like anywhere between a GameCube to a PS2 to an OG Xbox, you're doing pretty good. But and that's says for all of them. But specifically for the Geonosis battle. Oh, I didn't get all of these. Shoot, that's why. But specifically for the Geonosis arena, weirdly, this is gonna sound like a weird complaint, but I wish the fight with Jango Fett was a little bit harder. Because, so that it, like, sticks in your head a little bit more, maybe. But other than that, I don't really have any complaints about that one. But which was fixed in the Complete Saga version. The Jedi Assault level, I think that's what it's called, Jedi Assault. And that one, in the original, it's super just clumsy and annoying and just it's a little bit of a sludge fest. Yes, it does. It's an auto scroller. That one's so absurdly difficult, And then again, maybe this is just a skill issue. It took me like, how long did it take? Maybe I don't remember how long it took me to do that, but I remember it took way more attempts than it should have. So that was something. Oh shoot, there it is. Oh, my bad. Okay, all studs collected. Yay. I think the Count Dooku fight, the Skywalker Saga actually improves on it, because in the Complete Saga, there's no option to actually... There's no fighting Count Dooku between Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's just Obi-Wan and Yoda. Even though the first phase of the fight is with Obi-Wan and Anakin. And then Anakin gets his hand sliced off. So, I think if you had that kind of first phase and then you had a second phase, I think the game, that would be better. I think I would think so much more highly of Episode 2. And again, a lot of the prequel trilogy stuff, my issue isn't exactly level design. It's like more nitpick critiques a little bit, because it has really good pacing. It's just great. My original trilogy nitpicks are more just the pacing and stuff, just to be clear. Then I'd say the third best one is, and I hate to say this because I really like Return of the Jedi. I'd say it's Return of the Jedi is No, that feels wrong. Okay, so A New Hope, I already said that. Phantom Menace is probably the third best one. Because, again, it starts out kind of slow, but then again, it's the first level of the game that you can access. It's perfect for the new beginner. It's perfect for someone who just picked up LEGO Star Wars for the first time, figure out the controls. Great, awesome. Then, the second chapter where you have Jar Jar, I think that suffers from a lot of the same problems as Betrayal over Bespin and what. And I'm trying to analyze this more critically rather than just glowing about it like I otherwise would. The second chapter, I feel like that suffers from the same problems that Episode 4 and Episode 5, largely Episode 5, face, where it's just kind of the same thing over and over and over and over again. And it gets a little annoying, but, I mean, overall, it's alright. Then, Chapter 3, Retaking Theed Palace. Again, it's similar, but again, why Episode 1 isn't ranked lower is because whenever you start to feel bored a little bit by that level, it changes. It moves on to the next level. All the levels are relatively shorter than... Maybe the original trilogy's levels, on average, are like 1.5 to 2 times longer than the prequel trilogy ones. So, the repetition... Like, the repetition of those episodes, it gets a little more grace than it otherwise would, simply because there's less repetition. Even though it's the same problem, it's just a shorter level, so you have to go through that less. Then you've got Chapter 4, which is Pod Racing, which is super cool. I love that one. I will say, my first experience with it in the Complete Saga, that one, because the Complete Saga, not only did it make a new revamped version of the pod racing, it also had as an extra the original one that's in LEGO Star Wars 1 as an option if you wanted to play that. So I tried that, and it's the same thing with Gunship Cavalry with Episode 2. And also, Complete Saga brought back a deleted episode with Anakin blowing up the Trade Federation ship, which is really cool, and I wish that was in the base game, but time restrictions, I get it. Maybe it isn't this way, and it's just a feeling, but it feels like the Complete Saga, the version that's in Complete Saga, is actually harder than the version in the original. Because I remember the first time I played the one on the Complete Saga, and it was super difficult. But then I played it for the first time on Original Trilogy, and it did it first try. Then again, maybe it was just the fact that I had done it so many times on the prequel, on the Complete Saga, that I just got it pretty easily. Maybe that's it. I don't know. So, otherwise, the pod racing is really good. And then Theed Palace, like I mentioned before, that's a little bit of a sludge fest. Because, yeah, it's very similar environments repeatedly, but at least you go into the castle. And it does feel a little bit long. But right about when it feels a little bit long, the mission ends. And then you move on to Darth Maul, which is super cool. And again, it's high energy and I love it. So that's episode 1. And then the second best one, episode 6. Now, does it suffer from the repetition problems? Weirdly, not as much. It's just longer because there's just more content. I think that one's probably the best, most fleshed out episode of the original trilogy in LEGO Star Wars, because the episode is just long. There isn't the samey repetition padding everywhere. It's just long because there's a lot of content, which I think is really good. I think it took me half an hour to get through the first level and get all the true Jedi that I could. That I tried to do that. It took me like half an hour, and then the next mission took me like 20 minutes. And you have chapter 1 with the Rancor fight. Well, first infiltrating Jabba's, I keep saying Jabba's palace. That's cool. And then for chapter 2, you have to free yourself from a near execution and also save Princess Leia and sink Jabba's ship, which is cool. Again, that's also cool. I like that. There's a reason why this episode is my favorite of the original trilogy. Then you've got chapter 3, which is the Endor speeder chase, which it's super unique. Granted, you've got the one other Endor level, which is not as good right after it, but it's good. It's still good. And it's just long, but it doesn't... I think if you're playing it in one sitting, everything feels long. Because, I mean, you're sitting there for like 2 hours. But the chapter itself isn't that long. It's just fine. Nothing's wrong with it. But chapter 3, that one, it has the speeders, which is really cool. But then you've got the best part, which is where you can pilot an AT-AT. That's really cool. Even if it's for not that long, it's really cool still. Then you've got chapter 4, which is shutting down the shield generator. And the only part that really feels the same, just samey, there's that one river that I really like, and I know I mentioned it previously in the video. I like that one. I will always like that one. And there's nothing you can do to make me not like that little river section. But, well, not but. The only part of the mission that feels samey, really, at all, is the shield generator. Ultimately, it's something that you'd expect to be super samey. But that's good. And then, you've got the best 2 levels in the entirety of the original trilogy. That is Jedi Destiny and... I'm thinking of the name. Jedi Destiny and Into the Death Star, I think. With Jedi Destiny, it's just one big fight with Darth Sidious. And it's not that long. It's interesting because you have to switch between Luke and Vader. There are certain mechanics that you need Luke and Vader specifically. That Jedi-Sith combination of working together to complete a level is something that I don't think has ever been in a LEGO Star Wars game before this. And I'm not sure if it's ever been in a LEGO game since, other than this one section. I'm not really sure. Then again, I haven't played Return of the Jedi on Complete Saga, so I'll get back to you when I do that. Then Into the Death Star is just super fun because, yeah, you get to take out some Star Destroyers, but that's probably the weakest part of it. You get to go in the Death Star, and then it's not just a cutscene when you're escaping the Death Star. That part is super cool. You're actually flying out, shooting at studs. I think there's a red brick that you might be able to get in that escape. I'm not really sure. That's super... I mean, that's super cool. It's memorable. It's extremely memorable. It's one of the highlights of the game, and I love it. So, those are my thoughts on those episodes. So that brings us to the best one. And that's Revenge of the Sith, because, I mean, duh, obviously. That's the best Star Wars movie, and I've been here saying Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars movie before it was popular to say that. So, and I think it really started becoming popular to say that right when Season 7 of the Clone Wars came out, maybe? Like, roughly around then, I think? I forget, like back in 2020, I think. But I remember first seeing that movie, and I really liked it. I really did. And I still do. It's probably got... And that's probably the highlight of the original trilogy, since it came out right before Revenge of the Sith came out. So it was a lot of people's first look at it before the actual movie itself. But purely about level design, I mean, you've got the best level in the series, the Battle over Coruscant, which, granted, the music, it's episode 4 music in the original trilogy. I mean, the original game, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I think it's the music used in Rebel Attack in episode 4 when attacking the Death Star. I think that's what the music used is, which for that level is not really my favorite, but otherwise there's just so much going on. Yes, it's an on-rail flight level, but it's super cool. There's so much going on. You've got the ARC fighters flying by. You've got different vulture droids, and I forget the other name, like tri-wing droids. I'm blanking on their name. Flying past that you can take out. You fly through a Republic hangar, which is super cool. Which is why Revenge of the Sith on Skywalker Saga kind of sucks, because it just made that into a cutscene. That should have been a level. There was no reason to not make it a level, and they made it a cutscene anyway. So, I mean, there's that. But I think part of my love for that level comes from the Complete Saga, where they actually do use Revenge of the Sith music. And that is just chef's kiss. That is beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Great way to start Revenge of the Sith. Then, you've got the second level, which is a little samey, but then again, it's not like that matters that much, because again, difference between the prequel and the original trilogy. Prequel trilogy, whenever it starts feeling samey, it just kind of moves on to the next thing. When the original trilogy goes on, feels that way, it goes on for another 5-10 minutes. So it starts to drag a little bit. The Count Dooku fight is kind of fun. There is one thing that actually I don't think people realize, but at least I'm comparing the Complete Saga to the LEGO Star Wars 1 Complete Saga on the DS, because there was no LEGO Star Wars 1 on the DS. It was only GBA, and then there was a LEGO Star Wars 2 on DS, but that was fundamentally a different thing, but whatever. The DS version, when Anakin decapitates Dooku's head actually flies up on screen for a little bit. But not even the console version does that. So you would think that the Nintendo DS, would be a little bit more family-friendly, but nope. Although the entire Dooku fight is a cutscene because, you know, DS limitations. But in the console version, it's an actual fight, and it feels super cool and good to do, and it's super satisfying. And then you crash land on Coruscant, and then you have to deal with the next chapter, which is General Grievous, which is set in one area. Granted, Utapau doesn't look that faithful to the original, to the movie, so not the biggest fan of that. But still, the General Grievous fight is pretty cool. Except for the part that, you know, it just... He just sits there and lets you hit him at points. So that was something. I do really wish there was an actual... And yes, Order 66 was in it, but I really do wish Order 66 played a more prominent role. Like, if there was... I don't know. And if there was an assault on the Jedi Temple, for example, that would be really cool. Like in Star Wars Battlefront 2, for example. That's really cool. But the Order 66 you do get is on Kashyyyk with Yoda, which, again, that's super cool. My one and only complaint about that level is something that isn't even in the complete saga. It's only in the first game, because it's Yoda. Yoda is the problem, because he keeps bouncing whenever you move him. And that's a point I made in the episode 5 video I did. That Yoda doesn't bounce around like a lunatic. It's not like he's constantly jumping every time he moves. So that's good. He's much more controllable in the complete saga. But that's a gripe I have about the original trilogy. Not original trilogy, the original game. And then you've got level 5. You've got the disguised clones, which are a cut part of the movie, which I think is super cool. And then that goes on to probably the second best level in the original trilogy, being Darth Vader. And that's just a fun fight on Mustafar. And it's multi-phase, it's a mix between working together and fighting it out, and it's super cool. There's an alternative cutscene for if Anakin wins, the result is still the same, but it's slightly extended to show Obi-Wan kind of losing, and then he gains the upper ground. So yeah, that's my thought on LEGO Star Wars GameCube Edition. I mean, it's fun. I like it. Overall, it's really great. I highly recommend it. If I were to recommend you start with one, I would recommend... Would I recommend you go, like, worst to best? Because if I were to recommend worst to best simply based on story alone, I mean, level design alone, not story alone, level design alone, I would recommend LEGO Star Wars 2 first, and then LEGO Star Wars 1. But if you're trying to play it more in order, yeah, LEGO Star Wars 1. If you're trying to just, I don't know, get the bare bones LEGO Star Wars feeling, and then you want to see, oh, look how much they added to it. If you want your perspective to be, why isn't this in the game? Why isn't that in the game? And instead to be, oh, they made this, and then they added this. That's super cool. I'd recommend LEGO Star Wars 1 first, and then LEGO Star Wars 2. Just keep in mind, episode 2, it feels incomplete, because it is incomplete, because Coruscant isn't there, but whatever. The whole thing takes place in Dexter's Diner, so that's kind of cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked that video, and my takes on LEGO Star Wars GameCube Edition. And if you didn't, feel free... and if you disagree on anything, feel free to comment below. But if you did like that video, go ahead and follow the channel, and check out some of my other socials too, because they're fun. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. See ya!